What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channels, YouTube and Twitch. I appreciate you for hanging out. If you're watching later on YouTube, if this even caught up, it probably did at some point. If you're watching later on YouTube, there are links down below to all the videos we're going to check out today, and Farming Simulator's YouTube channel as well. If you're watching on Twitch, just Farming Simulator on YouTube, at Farming Simulator, just search that and you'll find it pretty easily. And then the first three videos that are up as of the stream are the three we're going to watch: Giants Engine 10 presentation, Riverbend Springs map tour, gameplay and mechanics presentation. So we're not watching them all. They are in German, so it's German presenters showing off all this stuff. But I do have, luckily, we have English closed captions because I don't speak German. So, yeah, but we do have some stuff to check out from FarmCon this past weekend. Also, I misspoke the other day. I was talking about the collector's edition, and I kept saying a gold model. It's not. It's a gold skin for the in-game New Holland. So my apologies. It's the gold skin for the in-game New Holland. Go check it out and look over the collector's edition before you purchase anything, of course. And I'm not trying to get you to purchase it, but if you are going to make a purchase from FarmingSimulator.com's website, use code DeucePlays at checkout. I'm a Giants partner. It'd be appreciated. Thank you. On to the videos. So here are some improvements from Giants 10 engine: improved fog, dynamic shadows, weather effects, vehicles, terrain, various performances. I don't know what that means, but let's go ahead and just hit play.
Sehr viele Verbesserungen am dynamischen Schatten gemacht. Wir haben neue Wettereffekte, einige Sachen an den
Weather effects and
Fahrzeugen,
things on the vehicles, also terrain, various
verschiedene Sachen, die ich
things that I will
erklären
explain, and some things about the engine performance
Performanceverbesserung der Engine.
improvements. And with the fog,
Ja, beim
we've
Nebel,
seen the fog already. We saw this.
Eine große Änderung, die wir gemacht haben, ist, dass wir jetzt die
We
Möglichkeit
saw this in the
haben,
last video.
an verschiedenen Stellen
Weather is made that you have.
unterschiedlich
We can
Nebel zu
dynamically
haben,
change the fog
und wir
according to the
können
weather.
dynamisch,
So that's
das
pretty
nach,
neat. So
Wetterlage
non-uniform density,
oder auch
dynamic accumulation in
Tageszeit,
valleys and water,
den Nebel verändern.
changing
Wir können
weather,
die Gewässer
changing
ein
with
bisschen
weather
dichtere
and time
Nebel
of
machen.
day.
Wir können in Täler drin
That's, I mean, that's pretty.
Nebel,
That sounds pretty
ansammeln lassen,
realistic.
so halt ein viel
Pretty neat.
stimmigeres Bild erreichen. Hier ein kurzes
There's a short
Video,
video,
wo man
shows
ein paar
clips, and it looks like
Ausschnitte sieht, wie
we've
das
seen
in
this
etwa
already.
aussieht. Hier beim Wasser.
We'll turn this down a little bit.
Da sieht man
You can also see the layer of fog over the
über dem
water.
Wasser eine kleine Schicht Nebel
Maybe even a
gibt.
little more here. There we go. Yeah, that looks really nice. What's up, Bob? How's it going? Battery, how are you? Good to see you. AJ, how's it going?
Auch hier noch eine zweite Szene, wo man
Here's another scene showing a different distribution, just a thin layer over the morning atmosphere. For a morning atmosphere, for example, you can see as well here how the fog spreads, and it doesn't have to be just one fixed height like before. So that is pretty neat. As the temperature changes, the weather changes, the day goes on or whatever, the fog seems to spread out, get a little more low-lying, that kind of stuff. Very neat, if you ask me. Very neat. We also made other improvements to the fog. We can calculate the fog quasi-volumetrically, including the shadows from the sunlight. This means... Closed caption takes a minute. We get these God rays or light rays where you see these beautiful variation of light and dark depending on the weather, the fog. Whether the fog can be illuminated by sun or not. Where the sun reaches, the fog is illuminated and bright. Where the shade remains dark, also gives a nice balance, it looks like, because that looks fantastic. These are, I don't think we saw those shots. Maybe we did. It gives a nice atmosphere. We've also applied volumetric lighting to the local lighting, so local lights. We did see a lot of this. So volumetric lighting for local lights, vehicle street lamp, etc. Let's go ahead and skip past this. We saw this, and we know this part, right? So the volumetric lighting. So if you look right here, you see the cone over the kind of the street lamp coming down. You see this cone, and that's very reminiscent of what it would actually look like in real life. This is going to make the game feel so much more lifelike. It's not even funny. Agorian, how's it going today? I asked my phone, Siri, why am I still single? And it activated the front camera. Oh boy. Don't want to do that, I guess. But yeah, even the porch lights in the distance here, like this looks way more realistic. And I know people are complaining about eye candy and this and that. And it's like, yes, but the game needs it. It needs that depth, you know? It needs that depth. And this is why man will never let AI take over. Yeah, I don't think we have a choice there, buddy. It's coming whether we want to or not. Driving in the fog is also a bit more difficult when it's dark because the visibility is a bit more blocked compared to before without this volumetric effect. Now we come to the next topic, that dynamic shadows. So we have dynamic shadows this time around too, which is fan-frickin-tastic. Let's play this for a minute and just watch. Yeah, look at that.
Dann kommen wir zum nächsten Thema, die dynamischen Schatten. Da haben wir ebenfalls
Oh, also, I should say, I don't speak German, but I think Stefan Geiger did a really nice job of this presentation. I've only watched about 10 minutes of it. I kind of skipped through, watched, and kind of pieced together what was going on. And then I figured I had closed captions, so I turned those on and it was like, okay, well, now that we have closed captions, we're fine. But yeah, Stefan did a fantastic job. Also, he had a little audio issue at the beginning where his mic was feeding back, and I'm guessing it was because they likely didn't get to sound check his headset microphone that he's on. So when he walked out, maybe he speaks a bit softer. Sound engineer's trying to push the volume up, and as you do that, it you get some frequencies that weren't there before. Maybe somebody was talking louder on that headset before him or something. So you're trying to push, and you get all that extra loop going on, which is feedback. And the engineer got it taken care of pretty quickly. You never want it to happen, especially on a live feed like this, something that's being recorded. But if it does happen, take care of it pretty quickly, and they did, and that's cool. But yeah, Stefan done a fantastic job so far with this presentation. Johns also has one more video we may watch because I want to see what the overall farm con looked like. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so. Various improvements. For one, we now include the calculation of shadows. So cloud shadows fully dynamic based on actual clouds. So check this out. This looks really good. The clouds will actually make the shadows will actually make shadows with clouds. This means we take the actual cloud that are displayed and calculate how the shadow would appear on the ground. This then adds extra dynamics to the ground. And if you look at that, that looks incredibly good. It looks incredibly good. There's so many things that are added, and we saw this last week, right? But this adds so much to the depth of the game, the realistic feel of the game. Like, it adds so much having actual cloud shadows, in my opinion. It looks fantastic. Okay, so we got soft shadows. The further away from the blocker, the blurrier. With overcast sky, shadows become softer, as they should. That's actually really cool. Let's see if we get a zoomed-in view of this. So-called soft shadows. This means we simulate, as in real sunlight, where the shadow gets softer the further it is from the object, which makes total sense, honestly. You can see this in the upper image of the gray column placed, where the shadow is relatively hard to detect. The edge becomes much softer in the distance. This adds additional dynamics. It really does. It looks way cool. What about FPS suck? Oh, I'm sure this is going to be... I said this last week too, Bob. I'm sure this is going to be extremely tough on the processing of your computer. Graphics, everything. Like, I'm sure this is going to be I mean, it's already tough, right? Because there's so many little details that farm sim, and this is not even it. This is not even it. There's another one of these videos where the Riverbend Springs map. I think he goes through. What is it? Let me click over real quick. Florian actually goes through and explains some other things about doubling of textures for plants. So, this is not even it. Like, this is going to be way worse. I feel like this is just going to get. It's going to get harder and harder to play this game with a decent PC. You still may have to turn a lot of this stuff off. I'm going to try to run it full blast, just ultra settings on everything and see if I can stream it. We're going to find out. We'll find out right away. What is happening? For some reason, Ubisoft just popped up. I don't know why. So, yeah, so the further away, the blurrier. So you can see here, right, there's a sharp edge here, and then as you get further away, which in real life, this is kind of the same, it's a nice sharp edge here because the shadow's casting directly to the ground. And the further away it gets, the blurrier it gets because something about the light rays have time to spread out or something. I'm not real sure. And then here you can see with an overcast sky, shadows become softer. So it looks sunny here. This looks slightly overcast, and it's going to block some of that sun immediately, so you'll get a few more shadows, which looks really good. We also have the ability to adjust this according to weather. If we have many clouds, the lights become more diffused, and the shadows generally less hard. This means on the bottom left we have an image where the shadows are relatively hard. On the right we have the similar scene where the clouds are much denser, and consequently the shadows are much less hard. So they're soft shadows, which, again, you would expect. What's up, Gabby? How's it going? Another aspect of the shadows is the scene space shadows. This is a technique where we... There we go. Calculate the shadows based on the information in the image. Normally, we use so-called shadow maps, but they tend to create many artifacts. For example, we can't represent small objects well in shadows. Also, for performance reasons, we can't include distant objects or certain objects in these shadow maps, which makes sense. All right, so they are taking into account performance of the game, so that's good because Bob mentioned the FPS suck, and I think that's important when you start adding all this volumetric lighting and volumetric clouds and fog density and that kind of stuff. It can really eat into RAM and video RAM and processing and that kind of thing. I mean, it can really eat into that pretty quickly. So I'm glad they're taking that into consideration. That doesn't mean that it's going to be great or it's going to run on ultra for you, but that does mean they have at least considered the amount of strain it's going to put on everything. And now I totally see why they're only going with current gen consoles and PC, and Mac. I totally get that now. It makes way more sense. So screen space shadows, fix regular shadows, artifacts, fix regular shadow artifacts, add shadow to non-shadow casting objects. Okay, so this is compensating for artifacts. For an example, on the fence element, we have a small details in the geometry, but no shadow. Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay, so if the sun's going this way, which way is the sun? Kind of this way, right? There should be a slight shadow underneath, probably this hinge here, where this is. There should be, there kind of is a shadow there, but it looks more like they said it's more of a detail in the geometry more than it is a shadow, and that makes more sense. That frees up a lot of processing, I think. Not having all those little shadows in the game, I think, is going to make a massive, huge difference here, to be quite honest. Detected, if I deactivate and reactivate it again, you can hopefully see the difference. You can also see the difference in this image. All right, let's go back and play that.
Und wenn wir jetzt die Screen Space Shadows aktivieren, dann sieht man, wie sich da diese kleinen Schatten eben dazu bilden. Ich das nochmal deaktiviere.
Oh yeah, check that out.
Wieder aktiviere.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so that's cool. So here's the frame with, look right here on this post. Just look right. I wish they would have made this full screen for everybody when this was going on. So look right here under these little slats, right? Look at the differences. And that even goes for over here too, right? You get the whole deal. So it's not actually adding a shadow. He's switching from overcast to not overcast, I think. He's not. No, he's not either. He's just switching the artifacts for the detail or whatever, and that's really, really cool. So that's pretty neat. All right, let's keep going.
Deaktiviere und wieder aktiviere. Dann kann man da hoffentlich den Unterschied erkennen. Ebenfalls sieht man auf diesem Bild auch ein bisschen in der Distanz, wenn man sich da auf der rechten Seite der
You look at the
grüne
green area of the
Bereich
grass on the right side. We have many
dann,
details without screen
haben
space
wir,
shadows.
Ebenfalls viele
I'm guessing over
Details
here.
ohne Screen
Also have many
Space
details
Shadows,
without screen
die
space
da
shadows
keinen
that
Schatten
don't
haben
have
und ein bisschen
shadows
Tiefe
and lack
fehlen.
more depth. If
Wenn
we
wir jetzt die
activate the
Screen Space Shadows wieder
screen space
aktivieren, dann sieht
shadows,
man auch da, dass da
you can see
noch
additional becomes
zusätzliche
visible.
Details dann, sichtbar
Additional
werden.
details become visible. Okay. Yeah, and I pointed that difference out, so that's cool. Another point for dynamic shadows. Now we have the possibility. All right, let's just pause. Shadow of vehicle lights, merged shadows. Merged shadows is going to be... So, again, a lot of this is just eye candy, right? But without that, you're not really adding anything to the depth of the game and the way the game feels when you're playing it. You're not adding any realism to it. So, adding all this is adding all the realism that I think a lot of people wanted. At the beginning of one of these videos, they said that they, after the release of 2022, after the release of Farm Sim 22, they took in all of the notes and all the requests that they could find for a while, and a lot of this stuff was stuff that people requested. They wanted more detail, more more terrain detail, more weather detail, stuff like that. So, they put GPS in the game. We know that. For sure, it doesn't operate like a full GPS, but it's also going to be on console. So, very, very, very cool. There's a lot of stuff here that I'm super happy that they added. I think it was well needed. All right, let's go to the next one. Shadow merged lights. So, that's my volume. Hang on. Have shadows with vehicle lights. We had a problem where the vehicle lights were relatively complex, sometimes consisting of 5 or 6 different lights. Assigning a shadow to each one would be too costly in terms of performance. So here you go, Bob. There's more. So we didn't implement it before, but now we have this technique we call merged shadows. This means we take all these 5 or 6 lights pointing in a similar direction and calculate only one shadow. That means we pay the cost for only one light. It uses the shadow information for all 6 lights. It's not 100% perfect, but visually you can hardly see the difference. So that's pretty neat. That is pretty neat. You still have the correct shadows. Yes, here's also a debug visualization of how this calculated. In this case, we now have 2 lights pointing forward. The rectangle you see by the lights show... Okay, so the rectangle you see by the lights show where the shadow calculation takes place. That's pretty neat. It's good that they've thought about this. We only do the shadow calculation for these 2 lights pointing forward. Let's move on to the next point. Weather effects. Okay, so basically they're saying they found a way to, instead of each light, like each mirror, right? If you're in cab, each mirror in the tractor, you can turn how many mirrors you see down at once. So instead of each light casting a shadow, they're merging all the lights that are pointing in one direction shadows. That way it's not eating up more resources. It's only eating up resources for 1 light versus 6 lights or 10 lights or whatever. And I'm guessing that works similar. I don't know the coding for this, but to give you an idea, when you use a bale loader trailer and it scoops the bale, stacks it on the trailer, the bale then becomes part of the trailer. So instead of 12 bales, you have 1 trailer, and it still just counts as 1 entity. And that keeps from eating up so many resources in your PC or your game console. And I think that's the idea. That's what it sounds like. It's not the same thing, of course, but that's what it sounds like to me that they kind of did with it. They made it so that it acts as 1, and it's 1 resource instead of 50 resources or whatever. All right, weather effects. Rain effects on vehicles, water droplets on machines, higher colors darken when wet. All right, let's see. We now have the ability to apply wet effect on vehicles. We have small water droplets effects on them. We also have darkening materials that actually darken. For example, tires not only get wet and reflect more, but also become darker because the water is absorbed into the material. However, this doesn't happen with the regular hood, so we need to simulate which parts darken and which don't accordingly. Another effect we implemented is that we now have dirt that can stick to the wheels. We previously had the dirt effect, but it didn't affect the geometry. Now we have this additional, I see, look at that. Now we have this additional dirt that can stick and behave slightly different in gameplay. The regular dirt we had so far didn't change over time, just kept building up. the vehicle only got dirtier, but this additional dirt we now have implemented can also wear off while driving. So not only does it not get it doesn't just get dirtier, it actually builds up and changes the geometry of the tire. If you look right here, right, you see how tall the tire tread is, right? A little shorter, very short, right? It's almost smooth. The mud is building up on the tire, but it can also come off while you're driving. Very, very cool. All these large chunks fall off and remain on the road. That is sweet. That's it. So again, I mean, you can call that eye candy, but that's dynamic. I mean, that adds to the feel of the game.
Wir haben auch an dem Regen selbst oder auch die ganzen anderen Wettereffekte haben wir sehr viel geschraubt.
They also made many improvements to the way the rain works. It's much prettier. We have denser fog. We've also included local wind influences. We can now calculate everything on the GPU. That means better in terms of performance. So what we have is improved rain visuals, rain splashes, and wet look darker and more reflective. We built the capability for individual raindrops to collide with the ground, something we haven't seen yet, and create splashes, which adds a nice effect that also applies to the vehicles themselves, where we can apply this wet, wait for it, wet look to all objects, depending on how the material behaves. We have a darkening and more reflective objects when they are wet. What do you mean, am I real? Not every video is AI. Come on now.
Von Objekten, wenn es nass ist.
I'm a real person who doesn't speak German, who has captions on watching this video, yes. Now we come to the topic of vehicles. We made a series of improvements, physically based collaborations. Okay, so we can go through this one pretty quickly. So basically, they took a color match straight off of the actual vehicles to put in game. So we can just skip through that. Look, reflect, and so on. So they're commonly used in the automotive industry to measure materials, how they look, how they reflect, and so on. So not only just the paint, but how that paint reflects in real life. Measure how all the vehicles are, most of them. We've taken almost 1,000 measurements. Of course, collaboration with the manufacturers is very important to get access to all the vehicles, to be able to do this properly. With this, we can try to render our models as accurately as possible so it's depicted as realistically as possible. Previously, it was difficult, especially when done from photos and so on. So now they've gone and actually they've got a device. They've actually taken measurements of the color, the reflectiveness, all that kind of stuff of the material, of the paint colors and the materials of the trailer, and built that in game with shading and stuff. That is crazy cool. Yes, more eye candy, but yes, well needed for the in-depth view of some of the hardcore farm sim players, I would say. Do you have that color? That doesn't match? We also worked with manufacturers before. We sent them models, and they told us they could color was completely wrong, and asked if we could change it a bit. With this device, we can completely avoid that and have the correct color right from the start. Implemented a new clear coat simulation. So this is cool. This is pretty clear coat layers. So they got the body, the primer, the base coat, the clear coat. Then we have dirt, and then snow can build up on it too. Very cool. This is very, very cool. I just hit 0. Let me get back to where we were here. Could be just ahead. My apologies. Right about here somewhere. There we go. Then a small layer of adhesive material on top of the paint actually gives the objects its color. Then you have this semi-transparent layer on top that can protect the paint, but also creates this additional reflective effect. And they also simulate the extra thin layer on top. So they're simulating the clear coat, which gives us the reflections basically that we saw last week in the video. Clear coat layer, yep. So that's giving us the reflect. All right, so here we go. Terrain, higher terrain resolution, 1 meter. Runtime compression. I don't know what that means, but let's back up a bit. We can figure this out. Displacement mapping. I don't know what any of this means. Okay, here we go.
Wir haben neu jetzt die Auflösung auf 1 Meter gemacht. Das heißt, die Punkte, wo man kontrollieren kann, wie hoch das Terrain
This point
ist.
means you
Es
control
ist
the
mit
height of the
einem
terrain,
Meter
now 1
Abstand.
meter apart. Previously it
waren
was
mit
2 meters. This
Meter,
means
das heißt,
especially
vor
for...
allem für unsere Map-Artists gibt es natürlich die Möglichkeit, das Terrain viel schöner einzubetten.
Our map artists, it's
Oder
now
auch für
possible to
euch
embed the
im
terrain.
Spiel
Hang
gibt es
on.
natürlich die Möglichkeit, das
Embed the
viel
terrain much
schöner
more beautifully.
einzubetten.
Also
Oder
for
auch für euch im Spiel,
you in the
ist
game,
es
when you want to
natürlich
modify the
beim,
terrain and paint it,
Verändern vom Terrain, wenn ihr da malen wollt, habt ihr natürlich dann viel
you have
mehr
much more precision to
Präzision
adjust it.
und
We also
Möglichkeiten
implemented
eingebaut,
the
dass
ability
wir
to
das
compress
zur-
it
zur,
at runtime
Spielzeit
and to
kombinieren
not
und
waste
bisher
additional
immer nicht so wissen,
memory.
das Speichern zu
This
verwenden.
was always a
Das
critical
anpassen
point so that you
kann,
could adjust it
aber
without
trotzdem
using
nicht
much
immer so
more
viel mehr Speicher brauchen
memory.
würde.
We also added displacement mapping. This
Wow,
means
das heißt,
we can
das
adjust the
heißt,
terrain with a resolution of
auch mit Punkten von
12.5
einem
centimeters, so
Abstand
with
von
points 12.5
12,5
centimeters apart. I don't know what any of this
kann man
means,
nicht glauben,
but
die
to map
Nitrado
creators,
ja
it's probably
Listen-
it's probably really neat.
Aber das
I guess it gives
erlaubt
people
dann
more
eben so
control.
kleinere Details, viel
Also allows for
realistischer
smaller
zu
details,
darzustellen,
represented much
oder?
more realistically.
Wir haben
We
ja auch den
here
gleichen
we also
Filter
have the
einmal im
same
Wireframe-Modus.
screen
Da sieht man hier auf der linken Seite habe ich da
screenshot.
bisschen, das angepasst, dass man eben das sieht, wie groß das 1 Meter Auflösung
My
ist. Also
Restream
das heißt,
just
diese
logged
kleine
me out
Rampe
for some
ist
reason.
1 Meter breit. Früher wäre
Restream
das
chat.
eben doppelt so breit gewesen.
Weird.
Und wir sehen hier in der Mitte
Yeah, so basically this is for the actual mappers. So here we go. Displacement mapping for fields influence physics. This means when they drive through the furrows, it will no longer look strange, where visually it appears to go up and down when the vehicle drives straight. We can also include the displacement mapping information, the physics, so the vehicle really goes up and down with a 12.5 centimeter resolution. There's a screenshot of what it looks like in the wireframe, so you see that it really goes up. It's like a visual effect before the parallax mapping, where we just looked like that, where it just looked like that. Now the question arises: what about dynamic terrain? We deliberately announced it as ground deformation because the terrain, the dynamic terrain, is a topic that has been circulating in the community for a long time. Many people have an idea that's probably quite unrealistic to implement. That's why we call the feature ground deformation. For some, this will probably be the way they imagine as dynamic terrain. You can drive a vehicle over it and see how the physics simulation calculates how much it's compressed. So that's a really, really, really cool feature. I'm super happy to see this. Super happy to see this. So displacement mapping influenced physics simulation dynamically adjusted from tires and gameplay. Vehicle itself, that means you have to drive on all the hills. You have to drive on all the hills less. You drive parallel to the furrows, you will be pushed a bit into the middle. So the furrows actually, so this is dynamic terrain. Another topic with cultivation, of course, rice cultivation, of course, is water, which is also an important topic. Therefore, we implemented water simulation, so you can drive through the water and have the beautiful water wave effects as it is. So that's pretty neat. I mean, that looks really nice going forward and backward. That looks really good. The effect is not only limited to the rice fields, but it has the effect in game. Normally you don't drive much into the water, so it's not as important there. But the mod map creators will probably have many ideas on how they can use it. You can also see quite well our new screen space reflections. I mean, so if you look at just the reflections coming off the hood of the tractor, the shadows on the tractor, the reflections coming off the water, the ripples in the reflections in the water, FarmSim has really outdone itself on visuals this time around. In my opinion, this is fantastic. So interactive water simulation looks great, by the way. All right, 360 billboards, parallax correction, shadows in the distance, shadow proxy mesh. I don't know what all that means. We're going to skip it because that's all this is actual map creation stuff. Again, video link is down below. It's called Giants Engine 10 presentation. You can find it on @Farming Simulator on YouTube. Let's skip on to the next. All right, so we got improved skies, starlit skies. Starlit skies is not something we get a whole lot. An enhanced moon. That's pretty neat.
Rendering vorgenommen.
Double-sided rendering, less verticals for thin objects. Objects are very thin. We may have many of these in the game, like all the crops. The advantage here is previously the triangles were only visible from one side to represent a thin object. Visible from both sides, we had to double all the triangles. We needed triangles from one side and triangles from the other side, but since we know they actually draw two triangles accordingly, we now have the ability to do the double-sided rendering, and that looks so much better, guys. So I was to create much more detailed objects. That looks fantastic, is what that looks. That is really, really nice. I mean, that looks really good. Yeah, I mean, the quality of life upgrade here is just fantastic. Same thing with trees. It looks like the trees look so much better. Implemented a way to compress all the geometries at runtime. This means we restore all triangle data with less memory. For example, a vehicle that previously used around 8 megabyte now uses only, how many? 4.5 megabyte, the geometric part. Textures are, of course, still separate, but this gives a good reduction of slots to consider 1 megabyte slots. So that's actually really handy for console players. That frees up a lot of slots, if you think about it that way. That's nice. Visual texturing for terrain. 1 MIO by 1 MIO pixels. I don't know what that means. Stored in 4K and 16K textures. Cheaper terrain rendering, especially displacement and parallax mapping. I don't know what any of that means. The maps are still 2 by 2, 2x by 2x, 2K by 2K, whatever. I do know that. Projected decals, no geometry for streets, cheaper terrain. Let's see. I think that might be it for this one. Blending with terrain, removing terrain between. Yeah, so this is it for this one. This is for the Giants Engine 10 presentation. Again, you want to check the video out yourself. Link is down below. Let's check out Riverbend Springs with Florian. That was Stefan Geiger. Thanks to Stefan. Great presentation. I know we kind of rushed through it, but I don't speak German. No.
Was ist das eigentlich?
We're just kind of guessing.
Das ist das.
What exactly is the Riverbend?
Das ist die Karte
this is the map.
In der Übersicht. Und das ist ein Riverbend.
A Riverbend is
ein Fluss.
River.
Ein Fluss bedeutet
A
Wasser.
river means water.
Was ist Wasser?
What is water?
Das
I want
wollte
to
ich euch
quickly
jetzt hier
show
mal
you.
kurz zeigen. Das
This
ist
is water. Small
Kleine
streams,
Flüsse, Bäche,
river,
dann
brooks,
Flussläufe,
and the rivers, of course, grain elevators placed by the rivers where barges can move. Wait, did that say where barges can move in grain? Hold on. Can dock and load grain. Barges can dock and load grain. That's a really cool, necessary addition to river-style maps. That is cool. Small piers, jetties, and small boats. Various ones in this case, the sawmill. Houseboats, restaurants floating on the river. Here are here's a ferry docking. It's all about water, and we wanted to celebrate that. Small weirs, jetties, another weir. Like, this is simply the small elements. A water wheel that turns, or a ship. Let's just get on the ship and see how it all looks like. The atmosphere made possible by the new features we wanted to capture for you. We ourselves totally excited that it works like this. This looks so nice. How do I ultimately get to the other side? Well, of course, there's a ferry, right? Yeah, we can take the ferry, pull the tractor onto the ferry, and cross over. This is a new way to handle something like this. We're very curious to see how well this will work, so comes the ferry, has to stop. You'll have to wait until the ferry arrives. We'll see how it all ultimately plays out in the game. Here's our little river, our stream that you already know from the forestry, from the Silver Run Forest. We have, of course, also use them because they build on top of each other easily. Every feature that comes into Farming Simulator is anchored and becomes part of the repertoire. Of course, small bridges where you can see the small streams. Yeah, so all this looks really nice. I'm just looking for anything I haven't seen yet. The river's also part of the game and not just decoration. Let's wait a bit. Exactly, we'll see. You've already seen it. The God rays. Yep, we've already seen the God rays.
durchbrechen kann, einfach nur ein Blätterwerk, das nur
Canopy prevents light
verhindert,
from
dass
shining through. All right, so they're just
alles,
explaining
was ihr im
basically the light,
Landwirtschaftssimulator 25 sehen werdet,
the
ist
dynamic lighting.
überarbeitet. Selbst wenn es alte Modelle sind, weil wir auf alten Dingen aufbauen, eine
So we're getting new
Tradition
trees,
auch
new
haben
bushes,
in
new
der
grass,
Grafik.
new ground textures, new
Versuchen
flowers,
wir
and
die
new crop
neuen,
spinach, and of
oder
course
wenn
rice.
gerade die neuen Bäume oder Elemente oder
Plant structures come and
Pflanzenstrukturen
bring up
kommen,
level, otherwise they would seem
das
out of
macht natürlich
place.
auch von den
And of course, this
Fruchtsorten
doesn't
nicht
stop
halt.
with
Wir
new
müssen
crops.
an so einem
Crops are
Punkt,
coming in like
wenn man mit einer
spinach,
neuen Technik
higher
daran
resolution.
geht, mit
Suddenly,
einer
all the crops have
Riverbend,
to
und das
be
werdet ihr im
reworked
Spiel
as
sehen.
well.
Alle
We have a
Fruchtsorten,
higher
alle
resolution,
Pflanzen
double the
haben
resolution.
eine
That means
höhere
4 times as
Auflösung.
many pixels
Und die doppelt
that we can use to give you an updated picture of the plants.
ausgegriffen, ja, eine neue Pflanze, die
That is cool.
dann natürlich auch
More
einzeln
detailed,
zu
much more
setzen sein
pronounced. It
wird.
really is.
Auch das Gras
The grass in the
ist
ground
viel-
looks so much better.
ist und deutlich,
And again, I know this is all eye
sag ich
candy
mal,
stuff.
die
I get that.
Kultur als Event zelebriert. Hier
Yeah,
mal
I get
ein
that.
Screenshot,
Salad
der
decorated with such
alles
flowers.
zusammen zeigt.
Shows everything together. That it looks super nice.
Und ihr seht daran schon,
Honestly.
ich bin und
create more emotional design of landscape, look more realistic. The sunset, paint the sky, the clouds violet and yellows. Can't be real. It is so oversaturated. Often what nature can offer that we have to catch up to that first. Access for me through emotion. This comes through feature we have through the fog. Various complexities of vegetation. But there's a lot to unpack here about just the different dynamics of the terrain, that kind of stuff. So.
Kleinen Bäche einrichte, selbst nicht mehr sehen kann, wo ist die Kante zwischen dem Terrain und meinem Modell. Und sehr genau
Look closely,
schauen
almost
muss,
magnifying glass to
wo
see
ist
where I
eigentlich genau
actually
die Textur,
need
die ich bei einem Übergang
to paint my transition, where exactly
so
is the
detailliert ist
texture.
das Ganze geworden.
It comes so detailed to show you
wir
this
einen
now in a
Wald
very short area where we
generiert haben.
generated a forest. Let's see.
Lass uns einfach mal da
Just
durch.
walk through it a bit. Walk through it a bit, and you can
sieht
see
man
the
eben,
trees and how the real
dass die
branch structure.
Bäume jetzt
Yeah, I mean that
richtig
is true.
Ringstruktur
The
haben.
trees do look way better. I'm just curious
Dass
how hard they're going to be to cut down.
Eben die Komplexität, die es einem erlaubt, die Bäume zum einen sehr eng zu setzen, Lob als eine Krone haben, wir viele Möglichkeiten haben.
Range everything, but also
das Ganze zu
drawback
erbieten.
since the
Dadurch, dass
trees look so
ein Baum
individual. Yep. All right. So we talked about the trees
und sagst,
before. Let's go
ja, die 2
on
Stunden haben sich
to
richtig gelohnt.
the next segment.
Rostflecken oder irgendwelche
Animal Trader
Fragmentierungen
with
am
animals,
Mauerwerk,
new
was auch
fences.
immer.
That looks really
Ja,
good.
oder auch Wasser, das heruntergeronnen ist und Spuren hinterlassen hat. Plötzlich kommen wir in einen Detailgrad rein und die Grafik kann für uns so viele neue Elemente präsentieren, dass auch hier
The
der
useness of a
Arbeitsaufwand
house,
enorm
but today we can
angestiegen
do it
ist.
so much more
Ich zeig euch einfach mal, was
intensively
ich damit
because
meine.
otherwise the house would just look like a rundown
Früher
tool,
hatten wir auch schon so ein
too
paar,
old, dilapidated. So we
sag ich mal,
suddenly
die
use these
Benutztheit
elements so
eines
you can see
dass wir es nicht zu
there
übertreiben,
is life,
weil
is
sonst
embedded,
sieht das Haus
it's
halt einfach
used, reflects the
abgeranzt
house
aus.
walls,
Zu
but it still
alt.
presents a
einsetzen,
pleasant
so
useness.
dass man sich an der Hauswand
Also the complexity. What was the topics that we covered here? Hang on, let's go back.
Plötzlich kommen wir in
Animal
einen
Trader
Detailgrad
with
rein.
animals. So the animal
Und die
trader now
Grafik
have
kann
animals
für
outside,
uns-
new fences.
Das
Okay,
ist
we'll skip
aber
on.
auch mal so diese und Weitläufigkeit und Benutztheit darstellt.
In the past, we've often kept
Ja,
everything
eine
very compact. Here's the
angenehme,
animal trader, which is actually
Benutztheit darstellt.
relatively small. If you have a large operation, it can stretch
Aber auch in der
over
Komplexität und
several
Weitläufigkeit
hundred
unserer
meters, but
Gebäude
especially in
früher
complexity
haben. Hier ist jetzt der,
and interconnectedness. We wanted to
dass wir alles
offer a new flair.
eben
Also to show the animals
eigentlich
something
eine
new that we are
mehrere hundert Meter, relativ klein. Wenn
doing
man
now,
einen
which has
großen
been
Betrieb, der kann der sich
done on
über-
mod maps.
Der ist zwar relativ klein.
It's always inspired
aber
us.
eben gerade
Such
in der
operations is an empty box,
Komplexität und
but now you have the animal pins
Aber
and the animals that
was
you
auf
can
dem
see, which is really neat. All right, let's skip on to the next one.
das aufmacht, wenn wir im Spiel, das können wir Schwierigkeiten haben.
Range that has never been there before. We've seen this in
Wir
the Sri
Schwierigkeiten haben,
Lanka
durch
map,
alle
the Eastern
durchzuscrollen,
European
wenn wir
map in the
im Spiel,
DLC.
das könnt ihr dann auch sehen, uns zur Verfügung stellen.
It's already
dann
played
müsste
out there, intensive. Just have a
ziemlich mal eben
few
auch damit diese Vielfalt und Palette.
more fences to show you. Okay, so lots of fences. What's up, Smootho? Jeffrey, how's it going?
Sag ich mal,
FS25 hype,
Gestaltung.
indeed,
Wir schauen
yeah.
einfach, wie es für uns am besten aussieht.
Yeah, so we're still talking about fences. There's lots of new fences. All right, so here we go. Here's a new tractor. I'll just show you a moving image. There's the animal trader. It's still a bit of work in progress. For example, if you pay close attention here when it comes around, area hasn't been worked on, but the ground is still quite monotonous. I don't know how to say that word. I don't even know what that means. In other places, these decals, some that make it much more varied. There's still a bit to do. They still got some fine tuning to do, but overall, this looks really good. Why do you need subtitles? Don't you speak German? The most important, beautiful language in the whole world, Smudo? Every time I hear German, I just feel like somebody's always angry at me. Like it always feels that way. I know it's not the case.
Da ist noch ein bisschen was zu tun. Wir müssen noch in
Feinpolishing
gehen. Aber das, was wir schon ausprobiert haben, das
a lot of work, and leads to many of us working
das, was wir schon
into the evening to get it done, but it's a lot of fun.
Zu bewältigen.
So there we go. There's the animals. You can see them at a distance. Here you see more finished product you will encounter in the game. And I see this as an element, as a graphic designer, not a realism, but emotionally, farmer's market where we have drop-off point for many things. So looking at the farmer's market setup, which is really nice as well, with an interior, interactive shelves at the farmer's market, really nice. Small selling stands. All right, let's go on to the next thing. Actually, let's take a peek at some of this. So there's the outside of the farmer's market. There's the inside of the farmer's market. It looks really nice with interactive shelves. All right, here we go. Small production units, new productions, buildable farmhouses. Yeah, this is what we want to do.
Einmal zurückgehen. Aber wenn man dort Sachen hinbringt, wenn man Tomaten dorthin geht,
so he said,
aber wenn man
the stuff from the field is coming to us. I almost want to say to the table. We're not there yet, but that's exactly the idea. If we could someday actually open a refrigerator, set a plate in front of us, and crack an egg into a pan and place our vegetables on the stove accordingly from the field to the table is the step in between. I am super proud that our graphics team did this. Our game designers also put a lot of hours in to make this possible, but it's not just, but gladly, yes, they deserve it. So basically, he's saying their long-term idea is to have farm to table. Like, wasn't enough for us because they deserve it, but it wasn't enough for us because the farmer's market is like a large industrial building. However, you define it visually. It's still somewhat distant. We wanted to give it even smaller, more detailed. Yeah, that's true. And it looks really good too. Oh, I think we lost our subtitle. There we go. Many farms set up with small farmers market. Okay, let's skip to the next one. Small production units, new productions, buildable farmhouses. Here we go. Well, isolated and encapsulated, or we just do this for all production sites. We can set up a small carpentry shop, we can set up a small cheese factory, and so on and so forth. And that is the real novelty, that we can now represent large-scale facilities also in a small scale, the small and large macrocosm, and that has always been there. So what they did basically, this is an example. Right, there are two different size productions now, it looks like, which is phenomenal. In all farms and versions, this idea has been there. Now the game design, because this is really elite, this is important, because otherwise it would be just, there's just a distance. Economic simulation thing. We have nothing to do with it anymore. I'm no longer part of the whole process, and we're bringing that back here. That looks absolutely phenomenal. Some kind of processing that looks great, in my opinion. Definitely be a separate technical tutorial for that. Here's just a comparison of the small to the large. Yeah, look at the size. I mean, look at the size. Isn't it great? Not quite accurate because this is just a drop-off point where you can unload grains. Just a slow, to show you the theme. large and small. Again, same themes. The texture, resolution, screws and rivets on such buildings. Yeah, I mean, look. Hang on, let's just go back and look at that. I mean, you can see. So the textures on these look fantastic too. I know he's spinning around here a lot, but yeah, the textures on this stuff looks great. Ridges of detail, hardly visible from a distance. I mean, it looks fantastic. Honestly. All right, let's find the next thing here. This looks like a lumber mill, probably. I skipped right over the barge. Hang on, let's go back. Check out the barge.
Aber wenn ihr eben dann kurz dran vorbeizieht, dann plötzlich merkt ihr, dass diese Objekte euch diese Nähe auch gestatten und dass ihr euch nicht quasi so abwenden müsst, ja, sondern ihr könnt genau drauf hinschauen und könnt dieses Detail genießen. Das wird dann ganz selbstverständlich sein, wie eine
The barge looked fantastic. The little workshop right there looks really good too.
Im Hintergrund da ist, aber die euch das Gefühl geben soll, dass das alles viel.
So basically, there's so much stuff going on in the background processes here that it makes it feel way more alive. What are you doing spinning circle on YouTube? Wait a minute. The logs float in the water. They are pulled up by an automated system that's drawn into the sawmill. Not everyone has purchased a Silver Run Forest, you see, and is familiar. I didn't know because I never played Silver Run Forest. I didn't know that was a thing. Production facility, because we always have this theme with wood processing. That is true. Might also notice that we have a new picture frame factory or a wood shingle factory. We always try new wood processing businesses. Just like having a carpenter or sawmill, we also have some kind of art carpenter who's very special art elements, but also has a wide range. Climbing park has a climbing park that next to it uses additional operation for his business. Also have a special project or suggestion at a climbing park which is not fully installed. Hey, we're gonna get to build stuff in this map too. That's cool. He makes small toy tractors. Oh, look at that. That looks so cool. For small parks, and yes, he's a bit detail oriented. It looks like it. Yeah. Looks really nice. A little workshop. We can also work with other materials. You'd be surprised. What he wants from me, then you can decide if you want to help him. But I can't say any more. I would like to. But if I say more, but if you already like this, then you'll really look forward to something spectacular. He doesn't just make small tractors. He also makes small obstacles for riding courses. It's a very funny guy. By the way, there are also wooden fences in this case. There are over 100 fences that you can use. So maybe the fences work better than they did in 22 because they always broke on me for some reason. So there's going to be missions in the game that we can go do for people. Look at that. That looks really nice. I like that. Workshop, small wooden truck structures. Buildings. All right, so we got brick buildings, construction sites, timber work, and vintage areas. U.S. map has a flare of vintage buildings. So the U.S. map has a beautiful flare of vintage buildings, old buildings from different areas. Notice at some point we always wanted to make these grain elevators, also in the past versions. Yeah, so grain elevators like that are I don't see them a whole lot around here. But I have seen some of the very large old grain elevators like that. The vintage grain elevators, which are fantastic, big, beautiful buildings. Brick buildings like this paper mill, we have a few of those in Mississippi. Unfortunately, you can't place it yourself. It's really embedded in the landscape. It no longer exists like that. I found old plans. Only old photos from 1920 and tried to reconstruct it, then made this really beautiful jewel and brought this. I mean, it looks really good. That looks like an old paper factory. It looks great. Old barns, old wooden wagons, timberwork elements that were used here, and then, of course, in American maps, the theme of the wagons, the old Western wagons, is celebrated here. See, I mean, they just did so much to add to the American map. It's not just a generic version of an American farm. Like, they actually went back to kind of the old West, you know, the late 1800 days, the 1900s, the early 1900s, when everybody was still riding horses and wagons and such. I mean, it's really, really cool. Hey, look, what is that little boat hat doing right there? Huh? What's doing with a little hat? Little paper hat. There's something. I wonder if we have to fix this place up. Scarecrow, what did that say? The something safety is carrying workers. I don't know. There's a football in that wagon. I wonder if you have to like fix all this up or something. That'd be kind of cool. I know in Silver Run you got to build stuff, so it's very possible that that's the case. I don't know. But this looks absolutely amazing, though. Yeah, I love the old grain bin. Looks great. All right, what's next? I'm guessing this is the paper mill? No, this is not a paper mill. What is this one? But it could be, I guess. That's the paper mill. It is. Yeah. Looks super nice.
Ja, wir hatten immer wieder das Problem bei den
People who make our videos that we always completely fascinated, looking up to make the videos particularly long. Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a stretch. I'm sure that they probably didn't intend to show that much of it. It seems like it's a really long stretch of video here. But it looks so nice, though. Like, it looks so good. I can't wait to play. Can't wait to play. Many more corners to discover. You have the full version and can explore every nook and cranny of the 2x2 kilometer map. Making memories at Sunset Sunflower Farm. The way they say it, let's look at the map. Look at this and create memories. Look at the picture frame that you can move around and get different frame pictures of. That is super nice. That is really, really cool. November 12th. Thank you so very much. Thanks, Florian, for a great... He's a senior level designer, by the way. Thanks for a great walkthrough of Riverbend. It looks fantastic. Let's go check out Manuel and the other Stefan, Marius. Marius? I don't know how to say it. The other Stefan. They're going to be doing mechanics and gameplay.
Es gibt unfassbar viele verschiedene
Big disadvantage of rice is an incredible number. Thought it would be difficult to choose the right type of rice, so we simplified it a bit and focused on two. Let's say two types of rice. One is the classic Asian short grain, and also the rice that occurs more in the North American and Southern European regions, so-called long grain rice. I think that's probably the best way to do it, honestly. Asian cultivation method. In the background, we have a Siki transplanter.
Die klassisch asiatische Anbauweise. Wir haben hier einen Iseki
The Siki transplanter. Okay, the Asian rice is planted directly into the water. Stefan's going to show you that, exactly how I prepared a little video here. Tell us about it, Stefan.
Ja, hier auch sehr schön zu sehen.
They're really focused on this fog and God rays thing.
Wie die Sonne jetzt durch die Wolken, durch die Bäume kommt, wie das Licht da gebrochen wird. Ja, sehr schön.
So basically now we can grow the rice in the greenhouses, and again, we saw most of this. I was really hoping for a lot of new information, but I've gotten some new information out of this. Not a lot, though. So basically, yeah, this was shown off in the other video that they went through before FarmCon.
Das ist auch komplett neu. Mit dem können wir die Setzlinge
bring the seeds to the field. You can also nicely hear another favorite of mine, of course. I mean, the
wie schön die Reflexionen auf dem Lack sind.
So,
also mit den neuen
screen-space reflections. The paint looks very beautiful. It does. You can really see reflections. You can. I mean, look at the reflections in the tractor as he's walking around it.
Also mit den neuen Screen-Space Reflections sieht der Lack wirklich sehr schön aus. Man sieht wirklich die Reflexionen, die Palette aufladen.
As he's moving, I mean, look at the reflections in the glass, in the paint. It looks so nice. And again, this is still a work in progress as well. This is not done. Still a work in progress. And we've seen this part. We know. We back up. We load them in. Oh, hang on. This is what I wanted to know. We flood our rice. Hang on, back up again. You'll see in a moment also places of water. Wait. What places of water pump? Field menu. You can mark the field boundary. It creates dikes, prepares the soil, and you will see in a moment it also places a water pump at the end because we need to flood our rice fields. The most common method for flooding rice is with a pump. Okay, so basically what I'm getting out of that is we'll go into the build mode and outline an area for rice in our fields, or our rice field, and then that will give us the pump at the end. Really cool stuff. We'll get our pump and also see. Oh, hang on. There we go.
Kommen wir
Get
gleich
our
dazu.
pump and
Genau.
also see
Jetzt gehen wir eben zu unserer Pumpe und sehen auch gleich unser neues Reismenü.
our new
mit dem
rice
wir eben
menu. You
jedes
manage each
einzelne
field
Feld
individually. You can flood it. You can
bearbeiten
see the
kann.
current status.
Man
You can
kann's
empty
fluten,
it.
man sieht den aktuellen
Oh,
Zustand,
cool.
man kann es
All right, filling
leeren.
animation. This means the rice field slowly being flooded.
Und
We
wir
have a
starten jetzt auch
time
gleich
lapse
mal
on,
die
so you
Füllanimation.
can
Das
do it
heißt,
quickly. Because in
das
reality,
Reisfeld
it
wird
takes a bit
langsam
longer in this
geflutet. Wir
video
haben
as the water
Zeitraffer
plane
an,
slowly
damit wir das auch
rises. You
wirklich
can
schnell
begin
sehen,
to
weil in
see our
Wirklichkeit
screen
wird es
space.
ein bisschen länger dauern als hier im Video.
Look at, oh my God, this is gonna take a while.
Wenn sich die
Reflections,
Wasserplane dann
see the
langsam hebt,
landscape.
sieht man
Oh
auch
yeah,
hier
look at
wieder
that time
unsere
lapse.
Screen Space
How much time
Reflections.
just went by?
Wir
Hang
sehen die
on, back
Landschaft
up.
im Wasser
Step back up, what is
reflektieren,
that?
man sieht die Wasseranimation.
All right, so
Wenn
we're at
sich die Wasserplane dann
16:45. Hang on, let's see when he starts the water.
Natürlich unser Reis mit einer Pumpe. Jetzt
how
gehen wir
long
eben
it
zu
is.
unserer Pumpe und sehen auch gleich unser neues Reismenü, mit dem man eben jedes einzelne Feld bearbeiten kann. Beziehungsweise man kann es fluten, man sieht den aktuellen Zustand, man kann es leeren.
16:41.
Und wir starten jetzt auch gleich
We're at
mal
point
die
times 5,
Füllanimation. Das heißt,
Oh, check that. Hang on. Let's go back to the menu.
und wir starten jetzt auch gleich mal die
All right, so manage rice field. Field number 1, size 0.7 hectare. Crop type placeholder. Water level 0%. This is a very long placeholder warning to test the limit of this next element. I do hope it's enough to get the and it gets replaced in time. Feel okay.
Füllanimation. Das heißt,
So
das
16:41.
Reisfeld wird langsam geflutet. Wir haben einen Zeitraffer an, damit ihr das auch wirklich schnell seht, weil in Wirklichkeit wird es ein bisschen länger dauern als jetzt hier im Video.
16:42.
Wenn sich
All
die
right, so here
Wasserplane
we go.
langsam hebt, sieht man auch hier wieder unsere
16:50. That
Screen
actually didn't
Space
take that long.
Reflections.
It took
Wir
like
sehen
10
die
minutes in
Landschaft
game.
im Wasser reflektieren. Man sieht die
17:01 took about 20
Wasseranimation.
minutes. It's still going though.
Ja, und gleich werden wir mal mit der Pflanzung vom Reis beginnen.
Does it automatically shut off?
Genau, also für die Pflanzung des Reises muss das Feld
Rice
erstmal
film must first be
geflutet
flooded,
werden.
so the so-called
für den
transplanted
sogenannten
rice. It's still going.
transplanted
17:20,
Rice,
slow it
wo
back
die
down.
Setzlinge
So I'm guessing
eingepflanzt
when it
werden.
gets muddy
Dafür haben wir
is when
hier
it's done. So
unseren
about, it took about
Iseki
30
PJ8D.
minutes in game.
Sein achtreiger,
So if you were playing on
ein
times 1
achtreiges
speed, it's going to take about 30 minutes in real life for that field to fill
Reissetzlinge.
up. So
Die können wir jetzt hier von der
stagger
Palette
these if you're
runternehmen.
doing more
Haben
than
wir
one
da
rice
auch
field.
eine
Start
sehr schöne
one
Füllanimation,
while you're
wo,
working on
jedes
weed or
einzelne
doing something
Element
else,
selbst von der
and then
Palette
come back
genommen wird.
and before you start planting it, start
Und
your
dann
other
können wir
rice
mit dem
field probably.
Gerät ins Feld fahren. Eine Besonderheit
If
hier
you're
ist
playing in
vielleicht
real
noch,
time.
sind die Räder. Also wir haben
That's what I would do.
Ja, Stahlräder,
What I would do.
weil es mit normalen Gummireifen sehr schwer wäre in dem Reisfeld klar
The
zu
special
kommen,
wheels on
weil
the
sie
machine, which
geflutet ist,
I
weil es sehr
assume
matschig
they
ist.
worked with
Deswegen haben wir hier diese Spezialräder.
the Asaki
Und hier sieht man auch wieder, wie
production
die Räder
on
mit
this
dem Wasser
vehicle, so this is
interagieren.
probably
Das hat man ja
real.
schon heute
The
früh bei
water
der
back and forth looks
produzierenden
amazing.
Räder vom Stefan Geiger gesehen. Da
Looks so good.
produzieren die Räder eben das Feld.
Something else
Sind hier
about
einmal-
this that we pointed out
Also man sieht
briefly
diese
in last week's
einzelnen
video is how these actually plant.
die Setzlinge von den Paletten
You can
runternehmen.
see it'll drop
Habe ich,
down
ja,
and then they'll
ein
go
bisschen viel
one at a
Zeit damit
time here
verbracht, das wirklich
across.
so realistisch wie möglich zu
It's like a
implementieren.
typewriter
Weil es
almost.
auch ja, sehr schön ist. Der Kermit hat
The
in dem
last one's
Stream am
gonna go,
Mittwoch sehr
boom, it's
schön
gonna drop
beschrieben.
down,
Das
so
ist
start
im
back on this
Endeffekt wie eine
side, see, there it
Schreibmaschine,
goes right there.
wenn sie mal hin und her geht und
That's
die
really
Reissetzlinge
cool how this
einzeln
thing
von der
works.
Palette nimmt.
Yeah, see, they even said it's like a typewriter moving back and forth. Very nice. All right, what do we got
Dann
next?
würden die Reihen eben in die andere
Feature
Richtung gehen.
for
Das Feature haben wir
some
dort auch implementiert.
other
Und es
crops
wird
in
auch
the new
die-
game. Oh,
das
hang
sind
on a
auch in
minute.
Reihenpflanzen. Man sieht
At the end of
mit den
FS22, with the
Karotten
carrots,
implementiert,
we also plant
dass
crops
wir
in
eben
rows.
Pflanzen
We
auch in
grow
Reihen pflanzen können.
at a
Also wenn
90
wir
degree
jetzt
angle,
90
and
Grad
rows should
versetzt
go the
dazu
other
fahren,
direction.
dann würden die Reihen
We also
eben in die andere
implemented this
Richtung
feature
gehen.
for
Das Feature haben wir dort
some
auch
other
implementiert.
crops in the
Und
new
es
game.
wird fertig.
You can also see nicely at the edge, dikes planted with the
Seht, was
grass.
man hier
Yep,
auch schön sieht
yep,
am
looks
Rand.
really good.
Wir haben das
Already
Foliage-System
mentioned the
geändert,
high-tech
wir haben es
talk
erweitert.
earlier.
Das ist im Tech-Vortrag schon
The
gesagt.
changed
Wir
foliage
haben das
system, we've expanded
das
it,
Foliage einfach
improved
sehr, sehr
rendering,
viel
so the
dichter
foliage
wirkt. Also
looks
wir
much
hatten es ziemlich matschig
denser.
ausge-
It does. It
Sie
looks
wirken
pretty great
dichter, man hat
actually. All right, let's keep
Natürlich,
going. We're almost out of time
so
here.
sieht
So
das Feld dann aus, wenn der Reis gewachsen ist. Seht ihr die Pflanzen?
yeah, look how good the plants
Und was
look.
man auch sieht, wenn man
Field
genau
has you can
hinschaut,
see
das
how
Feld
they
hat kein
have
Wasser
no
mehr.
water, so that means
Also
they're ready
die
to
Pflanzen
harvest.
verbrauchen mit der Zeit das Wasser, was im Feld ist.
And by the time of harvest,
Und zur Ernte ist
the
das Feld dann eben
field is
trocken,
dry,
was
which is
natürlich auch
necessary to
benötigt
drive
wird,
over the field with the harvester.
mit dem
Very,
Harvester
very
hier
cool.
über das Feld zu fahren. Wenn's
If it was still
noch
wet,
nass
the
wäre,
harvester
dann
would
würde der
sink, and the
Harvester
rice would
versinken, beziehungsweise
also
der
still
Reis wäre auch
be
noch nass und wäre nicht bereit für
wet
die
and not
Ernte.
ready to harvest.
Wir haben hier
We have a
unseren
new Asaki
Harvester. Der ist komplett neu, das ist der
The HJ6130. It's a specialized machine for, let's say, Asian rice in this case. The short grain rice, I guess. 6-row machine. You can see well at the front. 3 slots, individual plants pass through the thresher. So works like a grain harvester. But it's really, really neat. All right, let's go to the next thing.
Also das ist ein bisschen ein Spezialfeature von dieser Maschine.
Ich denke, man hat es vorhin gesehen, wo der Stefan
looks like the next thing is long grain rice. We'll just kind of hit the hot points here because this is going to be done like your typical grain on the U.S. side. Also, hang on, let's go back. Let's talk about this right here for a minute. Look at that screenshot. That looks fantastic. All right, so long grain rice, I'm assuming the New Holland CR11 combine harvester. It's now the largest combine harvester in the game with a grain tank of 20,000 liters.
Ich habe ihn hier in der US-Version genommen.
The US version also has dual tires on the front, making it look a bit more monstrous. In the back, we have the headers, the New Holland FD250.
Das im Endeffekt,
this is basically a header from Macdon, which is also a new brand in the game, but this header is also available as a New Holland version with yellow side panels. Last year at Agritechnica. All right, so basically the header is going to be so you can harvest long grain rice just like you would any other kind of grain, so it's not a whole lot different. It's going to harvest just like that. Does it actually give us any kind of straw swath? If you look closely at the header, when I jump into the cabin in a moment, you will see that the header is divided into 3 parts. The reel, also not continuous. There are 3 individual elements you can move freely and adapt to. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Okay. The ground gives us excellent ground adaptation. Additionally, we have this part directly attached to the front of the combine. We can move it separately. So the header is completely free from the ground, it's only pushed by the combine. This gives the excellent ground adaptation. Just when I raised it and lowered it, you could see very well how the header adapted to the ground. That is true. If you look at the wheels, right? Like, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it definitely is bouncing around. So that's the end of the main new crop. So basically you'll use a planter and then use the harvest, the regular harvesters for the American long grain. So this is the Macdon. Very often there was a wish for separate harvest method, as is common in America, meaning the U.S. and Canada. Swathing, how it works, Stefan will now show exactly. So we've never been able to do this with in-game stuff. There's always been mods for it, but we've never been able to do it with in-game stuff. So Macdon, the D140XL, and the D-something 240. So if you look at the direction we're driving right now, right, the seat rotates 180, you can drive backwards. So this is how we get to places. This is driving backwards technically, right? Pulling the header around, we're going to go over here to this field. We're going to drop the header, and then we're going to switch it. The FD250, we'll see in a moment. There we go. Seat is turned around. So now we're going forward. Rotated the seat 180 degrees is now, and it works in the field. The cab looks correct. So if you've never seen swathing in action, this is what it looks like. This is my thumbnail, by the way. Swather laying wheat into a swath. Might have noticed, oh, here comes the HUD. In the bottom left, we see our small work in progress indicator. Where's the work in progress indicator? It's not yet been converted. In the meantime, it's all, I don't see it. Let's see what he's talking about, but it's been converted. It's not quite ready last week, but you can see our HUD at the bottom right. For speed, RPM, cruise control, level, working hours, all that remains or is present. But what? Just like in the old game, what's new is a small GPS icon at the bottom right, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, let's get to the GPS part. So basically, once you swath, you have another header that you put on a combine harvester, and then you can come behind and pick it up. I don't know what application that adds to the game itself. I just know that it adds a bit more depth to the gameplay itself. So I think that's pretty neat. You can attach, it's a MacDon header, but you can attach it to any combine. It's a pre-order bonus. That means facto into DLC for our modders. This might be important. Vehicle are in the DLC pack. But the feature itself, meaning the swathing feature, you want to mod other machines to fully utilize this feature. FS25. Good, then we went back to our features list and looked at the next point. So he was the one talking about the ghost helpers, as I call them. One criticism is often that many things happen by magic, including bell wrapping. That's why we've introduced new feature consumables. The wrap bells, Stefan will show you exactly how prepared. Save the game here with the grain. So what do we have here? We've got a John Deere 6R215 and the 441R. When we head back in FS22, the bell wrapper combination from Goval, the C44-1R. Start Baling, you might already see on the right. Yeah, so round bell net 404, bell wrap 0 of 12. If you look right over here, the right corner. Right, you see the grass 3500, 100%, and you see the round bell net 4 of 4, and then you see the bell wrap 12, 0 of 12. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? We've got to fill our wrapping. You can also see 2 rolls at the back here. You can see quite well in the picture. Normally, there'd be white rolls there depending on the color you want to be displayed here. I forgot to fill it up. That's why I have something prepared here. Often have pallet, the beautiful 500, of course it is. Middle pallet is for from Ronnie Wrap, Ronnie Wrap, Ranny Wrap, I guess, I don't know how to say it, whatever. Bell's wrapped with Ranny Wrap outside with the Ranny Wrap logo. We'll hit, now we can take the pallets. It's just a little hint. I'm guessing that's one of the new brands they're working with. 40 rolls on them, and that's enough to fill the bell wrapper 3 or 4 times. The bell wrapper combination with wrapping function with this. You can also see multiple places, so it's really nice. All right, so basically consumables, we're going to have to, I don't know if we can turn this off. There might be some with no consumables, I don't know. But you can see all the bell wrapping filling up there, so I'm guessing the netting is something we're going to need too, though. So now it's wrapping, that's really cool. All right, let's see if we can get to the GPS part here. GPS steering, this is the important part. Alright, so this looks like horseplay, right? It does, it looks like horseplay. 700 series. See, I knew I liked these guys, right? I like Fence. Fence are great. Select the GPS mode, you drive on the field, you can see. As soon as I drive on the field, lines appear in the field. Time to explain what's happening in the background. As I drive on the field, we drive onto the field. As soon as we do, the field is automatically detected. It recognizes the outline of the field no matter how the field is shaped, whether you expanded the field, regardless of which mod map. The field is recognized. And then the course is calculated based on the shape of the field. From this course, these lines are generated. Hey, somebody's squeezing out some bits. Thank you so very much. I don't even know who that was. No idea. No clue. I appreciate it, though. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for using the sound panel. These lines generated. You can see the lines are a bit color-coded. So when you're on a line, it can be activated. The line turns orange. Once the system is activated, it takes over steering completely. The line turns green. So basically, it auto-generates a GPS for you. You don't get to set it yourself, but it auto-detects the width of your implements, what you're using. Expanded the helper, so now you have the helper in 2 modes. Either you have a full helper mode active, press H, so that's the same thing as AI. the field completely independently, or you have steering mode activated, the GPS steering, and then when you press H, it takes over the steering, then follows the active line, and then you have pre-selected, so you have the choice between two modes. I think you can see the GPS system nicely here. When you drive onto the field, it recognizes the field, automatically creates the lines on the fly, which means it works on any mod map. During development, we took 7 most used mod maps in the Mod Hub and tested them on our systems. That's great. So yeah, it recognizes the boundaries. That's really fantastic. And I think that's the last of it today. That is pretty good, guys. Okay, so that's just showing you it calculating the field. This is fantastic. It really is. But that will do it for today. Look at this. This is fantastic. Built into the whole editor system. So mod makers and editors are going to have a field day with this. No pun intended. You can see here is the map creation is no longer as restricted. So this is for behind the scenes stuff. This is for map makers. Look at that though. That is fantastic. That is so great. Yes, I have something more. Okay, it should be noted that the tool is only for internal development. It just means to an end, not very well designed, but it needs to work out for our purpose. So it won't be available for mods, but you can directly test the fields in game when you drive on them with vehicles. You'll see all the lines being generated. With that, I want to conclude our small insight at Farm Sim 25. I say small insight because we will regularly announce new features and present new features until the release. Visit us at Gamescom. We'll present new game features there. Social media channels, YouTube, stay up to date. Again, links are down below to all these videos, guys. Go check them out. I appreciate you. Get you next time. Wow, Courseplay base game, basically Delaware Farmer. Yeah. So it's GPS, right? It just auto recognizes the field. So pretty cool. It's pretty cool, honestly. Pleasant View Farm. Who's hyped? Everybody. Everybody's hyped. I'm hyped for this. I'm super hyped for this. I think this is fantastic. I think it's a great addition to the game. All of the eye candy stuff, I'm using air quotes, all the eye candy stuff is brilliant. I think it's perfect. It adds so much more realistic type stuff to the game. I think it's great. But yeah, a lot of this is just back end talk here on how all this works. I don't really care because I'm not going to be making any maps. All I do know is that there's going to be a button for GPS. When you roll up on a field, you turn your GPS on. It auto-calculates the field, auto-calculates the width of the implement you're using. It auto-generates 2 headlands. That's a thing, by the way. So you can press H, and the helper fully handles it, right? Or you have the steering mode, active GPS steering, and then when you press H. So if you activate your GPS first and then press H, it takes over the steering. Then it follows the active line that you have presented. So you have the choice between 2 modes. I wonder if there's a way I didn't see. Active line steering displayed in general. It takes completely the line, turns green. Once the system is activated and takes over steering completely, the line turns green. So there's active line used for steering. We essentially expanded the helper. So I'm wondering if that means, like, if we just get the center of the tractor close to the line, if it automatically grabs a hold of it, you know, and like, since I drive on the field line, so explains what's happening in the background. I'm looking for anywhere that it says you don't have to. It doesn't. I don't know how to actually lock on to the GPS other than having the GPS on and hitting H and it automatically going for you. Maybe you control the speed, but it controls the turning and everything. So. I don't know. I mean, it looks pretty cool, though. I'm really hoping animals get a huge upgrade. Well, so far, the looks of them, the fact that they're outside at the animal dealer, that's a pretty big deal, I think. I'm still confused on... So this line is also used for your helpers, too, by the way. If you use GPS with your helpers? No. If you use GPS and then hit H, it'll stay on the line and automatically turn for you.
Dazu zu sagen, also das System generell, also wir haben
But I don't know if it
jetzt
does
im
everything
Endeffekt
for you.
den Helfer sozusagen erweitert, also man hat den Helfer
But essentially,
in
it
zwei
expanded
Modi.
the helper. You now
Entweder
have a
man hat
helper in
den
2
vollen
modes. I'm so
Helfermodus aktiv,
confused.
also man drückt H und
If
der
you have a full helper mode
Helfer
active,
bearbeitet das
press
Feld
H and the
komplett
helper
eigenständig.
handles
Oder man hat den
the field
Lenkmodus
completely
aktiviert,
independently,
das
or you have the
GPS-Lenkung.
steering mode
Und dadurch, wenn
activated,
man
the
H drückt,
GPS
übernimmt er die
steering.
Lenkung, also dann fährt er auf die
And then when you
aktive
press
Linie,
H,
die man
it takes
vorgewählt
over the
hat. Also man
steering
hat
and
eben
it
da die
follows the
Wahl
active
zwischen
line that
denen
you've
zwei
pre-selected.
Modi.
So you have the choice between 2
Ich
modes.
denke, man sieht es hier schön. Das GPS-System, wenn wir aufs Feld fahren,
I think you can see the
erkennt das
GPS
Feld,
system
es
nicely
erstellt
here. When you drive
on
onto
the
the field, it
fly
recognizes the
automatisch
field,
Stiegenlöcher.
automatically
Das bedeutet
creates
für
the
euch,
lines,
es funktioniert auf jeglicher Map.
and then it automatically detects the width and everything.
7, 8
So that's pretty neat.
verschiedene-
All right, everything else is about the back end of this stuff, the algorithm and all that kind of stuff, which I know nothing about. So we're just going to skip all that. So yeah, they're going to be releasing new info as it goes. Thanks to Manuel and Stefan for the presentation. Again, I don't speak German, so I had to use the closed captions, but I appreciate Farming Simulator, including the closed captions in their videos. And again, thanks to Stefan Morris and Manuel and Florian and Stefan Geiger for their presentations. I'm sure there was more stuff going on at FarmCon. I didn't get to watch any of it. I don't know where it was streamed, if it was at all, but very, very cool. Let's check out. Let's go over to Farm Sims.
E for everyone.
Thing here, and let's just take a quick look. It's a minute and 30 seconds. This is the after movie from FarmCon. Let's just watch it real quick. Seems like courseplay, not GPS. I mean, it kind of does, but it automatically selects everything for you, so it's pretty. What was that? Not, I don't mean DJ Go Ham. I mean this right here. Check that out. That is a setup and a half. That's an actual cockpit for a tractor. That's sweet. I wonder how much that cost. More than I'm ever gonna have. This Florian. Stefan. Oh, bouncy tractors. That was a bouncy tractor. I'm used to seeing bouncy houses. Hang on. Let's see if we can find it here. It's a bouncy tractor. It's a Fendt on top of that. The Giants trucks look so cool. That would have been so much fun to get to go to. The 3 presenters on stage there. The Q&As. Everybody getting to sit down and play with wheels and controllers and keyboards and whatnot. This is so cool. Yeah, I'm okay with that too. I mean, I like the fact that it's available for consoles. You know? Have to go back and watch the beginning later. I mean, you can find all the links for these videos on Farming Simulator's YouTube channel, or they're individually linked down below if you want to watch them back yourself. If you want to hear my thoughts on them and stuff, you can watch this back if you want. I'd appreciate it. it helps out. God, that fits beautiful. Beautiful tractor. Oh, they got a factory visit? Oh, that's so cool. That is super cool. Save the date, July 5th and 6th. So, wait, what was July? Oh, that was FarmCon. Okay, that was FarmCon. So there we go. There is the. This is probably the coolest thing, and I know this is not like you can just take screenshots and add whatever you want, but this being on the farm, where you can kind of screenshot that in is super neat. Pretty cool stuff. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me today. I appreciate you for being here. Thanks for hanging out as always. Let me know your comments down below if you're watching later on YouTube. If you're hanging out with me on Twitch, I appreciate you hanging out with us. Much appreciated. And as soon as we get more news, I'll cover it when I can. Next week, stream should be back to regular schedule. No streams tomorrow. I appreciate you guys for putting up with me being gone for so long, but I'm trying to do what I can do. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Later, folks.